With Microsoft's combination of Xbox Live and the Game Pass continuing to set the bar for online console gaming, it was only a matter of time before Sony finally decided to provide an equivalent solution for their loyal fan base. And Sony's finally answered that question.
It's about dang time.
Well, kind of,
Oh.
but also not really.
Oh.
Sony's long-awaited answer is to merge the current benefits of their online multiplayer service with their PlayStation Now game library, all into one platform with 3 separate price points based on your interest in their back catalog and the additional games that are available from other publishers.
To be honest, that does sound like a lot of Game Pass so far. But there is
Almost exactly.
but there's one major difference between these two services that may impact your decision to pick up the highest cost version of PS Plus available.
While Microsoft includes all of their first-party releases, that's Halo Infinite, that's Gears, Forza, Flight Simulator. On Game Pass, the very first day they're released, Sony will not be doing the same thing.
Oh.
But to be fair, not all first-party games are equal. While Microsoft's history of self-published games tends to be a little spotty, Sony has done an incredible job building their studios into AAA developmental juggernauts with highly acclaimed franchises like Horizon, Spider-Man, Uncharted, Ratchet & Clank, God of War, all sitting comfortably as part of their personal portfolio of award-winning games.
Nobody wants the quality of these games to decrease, but balancing the cost of developing these games with an online service price point that makes them accessible requires the kind of math that, most of us had, stopped doing once we were out of high school.
Now, if I multiply the Pythagorean theorem by the square root of pi, and I carry the 2, and I solve for the inverse variable of the hypotenuse,
you lost me already.
Well, it seems that the answer
it's over.
All these incredible games that Sony's been churning out would immediately turn into sequels for Bubsy 3D. And that is not a future anyone wants or is prepared for, trust me. And in our lives, we face a similar conundrum, a balance I will openly admit that I struggle with on a daily basis. Now, while I'm not responsible for deciding which games will release on specific platforms, because I don't make games, I do have a fairly similar dilemma in terms of my commitment level to the future versus my investment level in the present. Living my life in a manner that keeps my eternal destiny at the forefront of my mind while dealing with all the mundane challenges and obstacles of my day-to-day existence is honestly very difficult. I feel caught between 2 different and seemingly diametrically opposed choices. How do we truly give God our best while still living life effectively as a physical, carbon-based being with needs and desires right here on Earth?
Are we giving the Lord the equivalent of Horizon Zero Dawn in our lives? Or are we holding back our very best and offering Him only the time and effort that we have left? Are we giving Him the very best of ourselves, or just the rest of what we have left over?
Are we giving God the full access Game Pass to our lives, complete with the costliest and the very best parts of what we have to offer? Or are we giving Him the equivalent of a PlayStation Plus experience, in which we give Him access to what we can afford to give, but not the premier parts of our lives? The Lordship of Christ in our lives must be absolute. The Lord will not accept second billing. He will not share priority in our lives, and He will not tolerate receiving less than our very best.
Sony has responded to Microsoft's Game Pass with a solution that sounded good at first, but it is an offering that is actually costing them nothing to provide. Sony's premier AAA titles will not be included in the PlayStation Plus service until they are no longer, first and best. And while it is certainly their right to protect their primary intellectual properties from being diluted, Microsoft is boldly giving away the very best that they have to offer on day 1 to whoever is interested in signing up.
Now, does it require a commitment? Absolutely. It requires a full commitment from both sides. And the truth is that Christ committed Himself fully to us when He came down and gave us His only life and the best parts of it. The question is, are we prepared to do the same? Our Father does not accept partial or secondary consideration. He gave us His very best, and our lives lived with Him at the center of our thoughts and seated firmly on the throne of our hearts is the price of admission. If we're not sure if what we're offering is our best, We probably already know the answer to that question. As David said plainly in 2 Samuel 24:24, I won't offer the Lord a sacrifice that costs me nothing. If there is no cost, there is no sacrifice.
The Lord is looking at the quality of the committed time, intentional efforts, and specific actions we are giving to Him. And He can only accept the first and best of what we have to give.
So does it cost us something? Absolutely.
Yep.
But what we receive from Him far outshines the value of the meager sacrifices we have to offer, both in this life and in the life to come. When we give the Lord our very best, He is faithful to bless all the rest. And when we reach our end game, only what we have freely given Him will be waiting for us on the other side of the game over screen. Let's not waste our time and efforts offering that which costs us nothing in a vain attempt to preserve temporary things that we don't get to keep. Instead, let's set our hearts on offering the very best parts of our lives to Christ.
Let's give Him the first parts and the best parts of our time, our hearts, our minds, and our abilities. It is only when we are willing to give Christ the parts of our lives that we didn't want to lose that we will find rewards that we never could have gained on our own.